Hello everyone, my name is Manning Peeler and this is my risk management video project for PRT 406. I decided to investigate the risks and policies associated with the 9-hole disc golf course located on Centennial campus at NC State University. I would like to give a special thanks to my friends who allowed me to film them playing a game. Some of these clips are dramatizations and no players were injured in the making of this video. NC State initially opened the course in 2009 on Centennial campus adjacent to the beautiful Lake Raleigh. Lynn Swink and Robert Yeager designed the course to be a challenging and rustic course open free of charge to NC State students, faculty, and staff. NC State renovated the course in 2013 to add holes 1, 4, and 5. Several of the holes present unique risks that could lead to injury and potential lawsuits. After the renovation, this sign presented the rules of disc golf and some safety precautions and warnings. This sign could help in a defense against a lawsuit since it has warnings such as never play unless you have a clear and safe throw and play at your own risk. Now, however, the coloring from the sign has deteriorated and patrons can no longer read the sign. I suggest that University Recreation replace this sign immediately at whatever cost, because the university might need to be able to show proof that it placed warnings in the case of a lawsuit. Another sign near the first hole describes the no mowing policy inspired by the practices of the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission to protect native plants. As a result, the course receives little maintenance outside of the fairways, and plants in the more wooded areas are not controlled. This leads to plant dangers such as poison ivy and poison oak, in addition to trip and fall hazards from vines and other plants. Although this is a management decision in which the manager valued environmental conservation over excessive course maintenance, I would relax this policy and ensure that poisonous plants do not live around the course and make safer paths into the wooded areas for disc retrieval. In this video, I will give a brief overview of a few of the holes and some of the risks that each hole presents. Remember, the signage that previously provided warnings is no longer legible. The first hole presents a challenge early in the course. The fairway area does not extend very wide and it takes a good throw to land on it. Two areas of dense grasses, trees, and other plants lie on either side of the fairway, which make it difficult to retrieve discs that are misthrown. It can take a long time to search for, find, and retrieve discs that land in these areas. As players spend more time in these dense areas, they face more risk of encountering poisonous plants and tripping hazards that could lead to significant injuries. The paths that lead into these areas are narrow and present hazards and thorny vines that could lead to twisted ankles and falls. I would suggest that the maintenance crews clear wider and less hazardous paths into these areas and check the paths every 2 days for potential hazards. This change would not significantly add to the maintenance budget for this course, and the native plants would still have plenty of room to grow. The second hole proceeds into a more wooded area of the course. This is one of the longer holes on the course in terms of distance, and its rocky and uneven paths present several hazards. Walking down the fairway is difficult to do without tripping because of large rocks and roots that protrude out of the ground. This area that resembles a small rock ledge is particularly dangerous and could easily lead to trip and fall situations such as this. In addition to the hazards in the fairway, the large rocks on the left side of the fairway present significant falling and crushing hazards. For right-handed players particularly, these rocks are a common landing spot for thrown discs. Sometimes players must climb and reach in and around these rocks to retrieve discs. These rocks can lead to slips when standing on them, and they can fall on and crush body parts when a player is reaching for a disc. To reduce this risk, I would post signage on one of the nearby trees warning of slipping and crushing hazards, in addition to stating that players should not play on the rocks and should use caution when retrieving discs. On hole 4, several hazardous water features exist. Players can either throw from the tee to the right through the trees or throw to the left near the pond area. If a player misthrows to the left, then they could have to wade into the pond area to retrieve their disc. This situation could lead to slip and fall injuries and even potential drowning. To To reduce liability, I would place signage that states that players should not enter the water to retrieve discs, and they should call a maintenance person to retrieve it. On the right side, players walking towards the hole first encounter a tripping hazard over a mound of pine straw that runs through the grass. Then, players must cross a stream to get to the hole. On the day of filming, the water was not very high, but it can have a significant flow and create slippery situations. Players stepping on rocks or attempting to jump over the stream present potential for many injuries. I would create a small bridge so that patrons could safely cross the stream. Although I would suggest implementing signage and a bridge construction for this hole, the costs associated with this particularly risky hole would provide good support in a potential lawsuit. Hole 5 is a fairly open hole with only one main obstacle and a tree in the fairway. On either side of this hole, however, significant risks exist. On the left side, Main Campus Avenue runs close to the course. If a disc lands on the road, it could potentially hit a car, or a player could be hit by a car while retrieving a disc. Due to the infrequency of throws in this direction, I would wait to place signage warning about the road until after making more significant changes on other holes. On the right side, a risk that could potentially occur more frequently is a misthrown disc hitting a person on the greenway. The trail comes very close to the hole, and a missed throw could lead to significant injury. Walkers, joggers, and bikers often wear headphones while using the greenway, and they might not know about discs flying towards them. In a case from 2012, the city of Manhattan Beach, California, settled out of court for over $3 million with a woman who was hit in the eye while using a trail located near a disc golf hole. I would place signage in places that the greenway winds near disc golf holes to warn visitors to be aware of flying discs. This signage would be well worth any cost to prevent lawsuits. Hole 7 extends through a heavily wooded area and has a large creek that crosses the fairway and presents a dangerous situation. Especially since the grass is not mowed in and around the crossing, there is significant danger. One makeshift bridge crosses the creek, but that is not a very safe route. The bridge is made up of a small bridge piece and then a long plank resting on the first piece. This is not stable to walk across and can easily cause a fall. There are no other options to walk across the path, so this is a dangerous situation. I would suggest building a new bridge that spans the whole creek in one piece. This would fix a very dangerous situation, so it would be worth any cost. Hole 9 is almost a blind throw as the plants are overgrown on the sides. The tee throw becomes very dangerous as it becomes difficult to see if other players are ahead on the hole still playing. This could result in players or greenway users being hit by discs that they do not see coming. I would include cutting back the large grasses on the sides near the tee so that players have a better vision of the rest of the hole. Another risk associated with this hole lies in the steep and rocky entrances into the wooded area. It is easy to bend a disc too far to the left, and it can land in the wooded area where the entrances are incredibly steep. This can easily lead to slip and fall situations as seen here. The paths are clearer than the other holes, but they are just as dangerous. Signage about using caution on the steep inclines would provide a strong defense against any lawsuits. Thank you.